We'll find out. And we're live. It says 0 viewers right now. Oh, you know what? Should we tweet it again? We should tweet it again.
I don't know. I mean, go ahead and tweet. I'll retweet.
I bet if you retweet it, then all the action is going to start to happen.
Right.
Should have a.
Here we go. Yeah, I saw. I'm just seeing a tweet. In case I missed it. Yes, I missed your tweet.
Okay, there we go.
Retweeted.
Awesome. Nice. We'll see what happens. So we are live with the venerable Vinai Kopp. That has some alliteration there. I didn't even think of that until just now. And in our Meet the Heroes series, how's it going, Vinai?
Going well. Thanks for asking. Hope you are
awesome,
doing well
man.
too.
Yes, doing well. Got my coffee, getting geared up here. And you're in Germany, right now?
That's right, yeah. Lovely spring Germany.
Nice. What city are you in?
It's a small city close to Heidelberg, so pretty central. It's about, nobody knows where that is. So it's about 100 kilometers south of Frankfurt, and most people know Frankfurt because a big airport hub kind of thing there. So
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to start to get a feel for the geography of.
Yeah, you should come over. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I gotta make it. I keep asking my wife. I say, well, what do you think about going to this Meet Magento or that one? And
you should hurry up. Currently, it's beautiful. Everything's full of blossoms and shit.
Oh, nice. Nice. And I heard you're not coming to Imagine.
No, it's
cried myself to sleep.
I'm sorry, Kalen. No, the problem is it's always a big investment of money and time. I don't know, maybe if there's some company paying it different, but as a freelancer, it's really, you know how it is, right? So
I know how it is.
I can't go everywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah, so, no, I know what you mean. I say that, but it's like whenever there's something in Europe, I never, so it's a lot harder for the.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm one of those weirdos that just drives over there. It's like a 4-hour drive.
I'm basically feeling lucky already to go to this many conferences as I do, right? So
yeah. Speaking of which, brings us right into our topic because you keep doing all these conference presentations on lizards and pumpkins.
Not one so far.
Not one? No, I keep seeing them. I keep seeing you doing demos.
No, that's not me. Fabian did a road trip. Is still doing it, actually. He's visiting every single meetup in Germany. I have, it seems like, presenting it. But I've never actually spoken public about it. This is like the most public thing I've ever done. Yeah. So.
Oh, cool. There we go. Well, that's a good reason. So I have to apologize on behalf of Mage Talk. Well, I'll apologize on behalf of Phil because we were talking about it and he was going, oh man, I can't believe it's a competitor to Magento. And I was like, I don't think it is, but I didn't know enough to explain it.
You were right.
Clearly enough. So what's the idea behind it? How did you guys come up with it and all that kind of stuff?
Thanks for the opportunity to, there's a German expression, meinen Senf dazu geben. It's basically give my mustard about it to it.
Give your mustard to it? I thought you were going to say there's a German expression for misrepresenting what lizards and pumpkins means.
That too, but nobody besides German would understand it. No, it's okay. So we came up. There are several factors, right? Like in real life, there always are several factors. And one was a customer who had been fighting a long time trying to get Magento running cleanly because working in the Magento ecosystem, the situation came up again and again and again. So basically, some kind of Magento setup with pretty much independent of the version or edition. It's just a struggle sometimes getting it to perform right. Like, oh, there's a sale going on, so either we have to stop all the indexing or tell all the product management to stop editing the catalog.
Tell everyone to get out of the back end quick.
Yeah, exactly, right? And then, oh no, price is wrong. Oh no, we're gonna have to flush the cache, right? Something like that. So it's just really not easy to get that stuff right. And here back then was they were trying a lot of alternatives, actually, trying to move away or thinking about moving away from Magento. Instead, what we came up with was an idea to, a full migration is a huge project, right? And let's just do a partial migration, right? Let's take the part that hurts the most and try to fix it somehow.
Okay.
So that project basically enabled us to build this thing, and they paid us to do that. So that was awesome. That was really good, and they agreed to have us keep it open source, which again was awesome. Really good opportunity there.
Yeah.
And that was one factor. And the second factor was I'm really often, this idea of bitching about Magento is kind of a thing. That happens quite a lot online, on the internet, Twitter, wherever.
Yeah.
And talk is cheap.
Yeah.
And it's always easy to bash code without really building something that's as huge as Magento, and it is huge. I mean, I'm really got a lot of respect for everything that Magento has built, and nothing's perfect, right? So it's always easy to talk bad about something. So especially when I was getting deeper into Magento 2, I felt some of the choices that were made, I didn't feel quite comfortable with them, especially in regards to caching. Like, there was already a lot of caching in Magento 1, but with Magento 2, it's like another order of magnitude of caching. It's amazing, right?
Generation, static generation, and all the other stuff.
Yeah, you have exactly. You have the code generation, but that's actually not really caching. No, I'm really just thinking the amount of, the full page cache, of course, is now essential. Like, even in Community Edition, it's basically you have to deploy with Varnish in place, otherwise it doesn't work.
Right.
Pretty much.
Right.
If there's more than a single customer or something. Just this whole incredible complexity introduced by more and more XML and JSON, and it's just too much in a way. It takes me a long time. Some parts I really like, and some parts are hard for me to grasp. That's basically the idea. So instead of just whining about it, and I whine a lot, right? Apologies for that. But instead of just whining about it, I felt I want to try to build something that works a bit differently, that might be a bit more suitable to fix these issues. And let me just close the door here. I'm hearing some noise from my family, and that's
yeah, for sure.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
I thought for a second we were gonna, if you've seen that viral video going around where the newscaster, his kids come out, I thought that was about to happen.
Yeah, so anyway, that's how those were another bunch of those ideas. So the principal guidelines of while building Lizard and Pumpkin was zero caching, like nothing.
Okay.
Linear scalability, meaning if you put one box up with Lizard Pumpkins, you can serve n amount of customers depending on a bunch of factors like hardware and PHP version and memory and processor count and so on. And if you put a second box beside it, you should be able to serve the double amount of customers, right?
Cool.
So you don't get this diminishing returns like with certain Magento or other platforms too, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Kind of issues. Like I've seen a bunch of Magento 1 sites. I haven't seen any of these sites for Magento 2, which were scaled up to about 8 front-end hosts. And after that, adding more front-end hosts didn't really do that much anymore. And it was very expensive to scale them. And my feeling is there has to be a better way to keep scalability cheaper, right? It's just so much money being thrown in that hardware. It's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Lizards and Pumpkins is specifically focuses on the catalog.
Correct.
And so that's an interesting. I can't wait to see what that looks like and how it ties in with checkout and other things. That's what I'm really curious about. But that's so the idea was, hey, let's figure out, let's clean up all of the bottlenecks and stuff around the catalog specifically.
Right. So the idea of catalog is probably the simplest part of a shop, right? It's just showing products and search and product listings. That's the catalog, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But still, especially in an e-commerce context, that actually isn't that simple. So there's always things like customer groups and prices and stock availability and maybe contact hours and contact phone numbers and
Watch
log
it.
in, log out status and promotions. And so there's a lot happening that prevents, aside from, just being cached and that's it. Because the site doesn't change a lot and everybody sees the same thing. Caching is great. And then it works. Great. Wonderful.
Right.
But especially for larger merchants, it sometimes isn't that simple.
What, in terms of merchant size, what would you, if you would just give a broad range for who this is good for?
Yeah.
How would you?
I would think it's interesting for merchants who want to own their technology stack and their data. So for me, if I imagine being a merchant, that would be important. And others don't think it's important. Some do. That's fine. So owning the technology stack, which means some other kind of SaaS products, might not be that interesting. And secondly, there should be probably some kind of in-house team, at least one dedicated tech person doing development, maybe more. So it's definitely the larger kind of merchants.
Okay.
Good some merchants I've recently worked for, they've got maybe, I don't know, somewhere between 5 to 10 people. And that would be a great size. But I think 1 or 2 team size merchants would work fine too.
Cool. And the name, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, sure, go.
Just say the name. I think you guys explained where it came from. It's a literary reference or something. I don't read enough.
Well, no, it's not really. It's a fairy tale reference.
Oh, right, yeah.
Cinderella, right? It doesn't mean anything. It's just a funky name. That's all. Sticks in the mind.
That's funny. Nice.
It took a long time to come up with that name. Tim actually came up with it as a joke, but it kind of stuck. We needed a name for the thing.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Cool. Well, maybe we could jump into the screen share and start seeing the magic.
Let's try that. 2. I'll say all again. Okay. Well, there isn't too much to show actually, right? So let's see. Here's the terminal window, right?
A demo, like a store or something like that?
Yeah. So we've got this dev VM, right? So here's the dev VM, and it should be running.
Now, what stack is this? What stack is this sucker on?
This PHP 7. Let me see. So if I SSH in here, I should be able to see the PHP version. We're only PHP 7 and up, so 7.0.16. All right.
Okay.
And you can see here it gives you this little domain name, and I can open that up. And the idea is, since we're just doing the catalog, this is a demo theme, and it's the Magento sample data, the 1.9 sample data, right?
Cool. Cool.
And it's a catalog, big surprise. So how can I demo this? I guess, let's see. So
now, are you guys handling the front end?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. The idea is here. If the way it works currently, originally the idea was that when a request reaches a web server, it in the index.php we would simply do like a regular expression on the request path on the side, whether it's a catalog or an other request, or maybe the other way around, and then include either a lizard and pumpkins or Magento index.php file. Right?
Okay.
Something very cheap and simple, and that's pretty much another thing I try to keep in mind here. I want to keep things simple, just plain PHP.
Yeah.
No configuration files and stuff. So what we've got currently is this catalog, and every page that is delivered by Lizard and Pumpkins. For a time, it was hard to see what actually came through Lizards and which was Magento. So every page that gets delivered by Lizard and Pumpkins has this little X powered by Lizards and Pumpkins header.
Oh, cool.
That's pretty much the only way to distinguish the two sites. Because if Lizard and Pumpkins deliver the 404 page, then Nginx routes the request into Magento.
Mm-hmm.
So if we, let's say, go to, I don't know, login. Yeah, this is Magento now.
Yep.
Right. And come on. Here we go. log in, Magento, standard Magento, nothing special there. And that's also turned out to be kind of a nice feature because it's very reassuring to some businesses to be able to say, well, in case something breaks, it never has happened, but in case something breaks,
you can just fall
your
back.
site won't go down, it'll just fall back.
Yeah. Okay.
And also, if Magento goes down, your catalog still will be accessible.
That is cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So it transparently moves between Magento or whatever backend system and lizards and pumpkins here. And I'm always keeping, I'm saying Magento here a lot, but it's actually really not Magento specific. Oh, what happened here? Broken image. Oh, okay. I gotta check that. Typical. Doing a demo, something breaks. Yeah, see, no more break.
There we go.
I don't know. Maybe an image missing. To be honest, I don't spend too much time on the front end. Okay, so what could I say otherwise about this? So the search is definitely something that's specific to lizards and pumpkins, and so the filter navigation also is search. And by default, we have this kind of multiple selection, right? So you can have medium and large, and then let's choose some kind of color in there too. I don't know, And this is, by the way, the dev VM. So it's using a file system backend.
Okay.
The idea being, this whole thing, we took this idea of Lego blocks pretty much, right? So if you imagine lizards and pumpkins being a Lego block, you can fit it onto pretty much anything else. So you can put Solr underneath it, or Elasticsearch, or Redis, or Memcached, or the file system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from a developer perspective, let me see. So here's the whole file system, and here vendor catalog, that's the catalog. And here in data pool, for example, the search engine, here's the interface for the search engine. Right, 2 methods. There's not a lot to it.
Yep.
And anything you can implement that for, you can use as a search engine. And we have a file system implementation of that, right? That just dumps JSON into files and reads it back in again. So, and that's just for development, of course, right? And same thing for the key value store. Set, get, has, multi-get, and multi-set. And that's nice. And you can see we're using PHP 7, Scala types, and return types wherever possible. And I'm looking forward to moving to 7.1 only because then we can use the void return type and optional return types and stuff. But anyway, this is kind of
now I got to ask, because you're the unit testing guy. So what kind of test?
So let's see. So here is the catalog, the current head, and test coverage. Yeah, okay. Let's see. Let's run the unit test with test coverage. And with test coverage, it takes a little longer, right? Because it has to collect all the test coverage.
Yep.
And I'll just let them run, and then we can check the coverage. And of course, it's completely TDD, test-driven, and doing the development, the JavaScript, the PHP code, everything pretty much. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So,
by the way, I think I'm getting a little. I'm hearing myself a little bit. I'm getting some feedback. It's weird. So in terms of the front end, are you guys rendering the front end with your own templating system and stuff like that, or are you somehow leveraging Magento's? Okay.
Yeah. We're based on my experience with Magento 1 mostly. I'm pretty afraid of using. Not afraid, right? But I'm afraid on being too dependent on anything that's outside of our control. Because using libraries and not reinventing the wheel is great, but there's a cost associated with that, right? Just look at Zen Framework 1, still in Magento 2. Prototype, still in Magento. jQuery, it's still there.
Hey, don't hate on jQuery. I'm still.
I like it, but it's all there, and it's pretty much impossible to get rid of it if it's once you commit it, right? It's like the kind of relationship you can't that easily get out of.
Yep.
So if something simple to write yourself is my idea here, then I prefer to write it myself. Okay. If there's a good reason to use a third-party library, great, let's use it. But if possible, I tried to take the approach of using some kind of middle abstraction above it, some kind of wrapper, or the same thing Magento 2 does with most of the libraries they use. And that's a smart way to do it. So how did I get here talking about that? Oh yeah, so same currently our own templating engine, that's right. And the catalog doesn't actually contain the templates. So here you go. You can see the code coverage. So it's not 100%, but close to it.
Ooh, right. Not bad. You're practicing what you preach.
Yeah, it's worth it. I mean, it really pays off. And integration tests also. And yeah, so it's good.
Nice.
Working that way. That's something we've made some pretty deep changes since we came up with it, and refactorings, and that would have been impossible without this kind of test coverage. So it's been very valuable.
That's awesome.
Right. So regarding the templating, I'm back into the sample project here, because the sample project has this theme in it somewhere. Sample project source in Pumpkin's theme. Here it is. And it's a very basic little way we do it.
How many lines of code is it so far as the project, roughly?
I have no idea.
Got a lot going on. Okay.
I'll tweet that to you once.
Yeah, we'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
But you've got. I mean, it's you've got quite a bit here.
Yeah, it's not small anymore. It's certainly grown.
Yeah. Hey, I see XML files. What's going on?
Yeah, so these are layout XML files, pretty much old school Magento 1 layout XML, because we all like layout XML, all of us. Layout XML was one of the great things of Magento 1, I think. It worked well, it's nice and flexible, so we decided let's do something like that. And
Nice.
yeah, so everything's a block and template files, and that also makes it easy for Magento developers to work with them, of course. And well, the templates are pretty basic. Yeah, you might see here. So that's pretty much, yeah.
Right.
We do have some kind of extra placeholders here, something like this. Snippet placeholders will be rendered during delivery. And that's special because this kind of PHP placeholders here, or here, they will be rendered during, or here, yeah. There's not a lot in there. They will be rendered during projection, right when a product is being imported. And these kind of template placeholders, they will be replaced during content delivery time, right? So when the content is actually being sent out to a customer or visitor.
Okay.
And that's a very important distinction for Lizard and Pumpkins, because we try to do as little as possible when the content is being delivered to the customer.
Right.
Now, on average, a page will be viewed a lot more often than it changes. So we try to prepare whenever we need to prepare it, and then when the visitor comes, all we do is we just have to show it. And that's how we're fast, right? So it's really hard to get good numbers on this, to be honest, because it's varies so much depending on so many factors. But we're reliably below the 100 milliseconds response time. Like I've managed to come to time to first byte 7 milliseconds for a product detail page.
There we go.
Yeah, it's pretty snappy.
Yeah. And then in terms of I'm still hearing the feedback. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the whole process. So from let's say from the whole life cycle of a product being displayed in the catalog, from when, I don't know, it comes from Magento or it gets imported and then it's stored somewhere. What is that whole life cycle?
Yeah, that's the best question, because that's what everybody is confused about most of the time. Oh, just a second. I just want to quit this here. This is, yeah, shut up. Okay. Now, when a product, let's say you're in the Magento admin and hit save, right?
Right.
Okay. So there's a Magento module that has an event observer, which will put the product ID into a database table, into a queue database table, a Zen queue table.
Okay.
And then there's a job running right here. So that's a background job. Poll export queue.php.
Got it.
And that's just a little command supervisor script which will restart it if this ever exits, pretty much, right?
Right.
So what does this script do? This script looks into the queue, and if it finds something, it will create a here, I guess, yeah, an XML file with some timestamps on it and stuff, right?
Okay.
And this XML file contains the product data.
Oh, cool.
Now, this is pretty simple to generate, right? Again, it's very basic. We have a product. So this was a configurable product, a text class, associated products are listed in here. And we've already generated the same kind of layout XML from from two different shopping cart systems so far, right? So it's nothing really Magento specific anymore as soon as it's in the XML. Now, what happens next is, as soon as the job has written an XML file, and there's one more thing here that might be interesting. So it's not only products, but it's also product listings. No, that's a product. Let's see if we can find a XML export file with a product listing in it. This one's growing a bit bigger. Let me do that on the shell. More.
And are you guys custom attribute third-party stuff?
Sorry?
Are you guys pulling in custom attributes and third-party stuff? Third-party?
We can. Just a sec. Here we go. Nope. Here we go. This one has some. Right here. So yeah, so this is an example for a category export. And you can see the category has a URL key, and it has certain criteria. So here this says this criteria for this listing is the category has to be equal to this string, and it has to be in stock or equal has to be true. So every product listing is in effect nothing but a search query. We don't really have anything like a category, right? We just use product attributes, to say, okay, this is in this category. It's just a product attribute. And then a listing is just a view on the products for a given set of criteria.
Oh, that's cool.
Right. So yeah, that's something. So far, we didn't have to actually build some kind of product hierarchy or anything. It's been good enough. But at one point, we probably will have to build that. But that's fine. That's another thing. We only build what we need so far. Right? So, yeah. Okay, now your question was regarding third parties, right?
Yeah.
What exactly do you mean by that? I'm not quite clear.
I don't know, like if I create a custom attribute on a product.
Okay, yeah, sure. Well, in the XML, you just can put it whatever. It's just another attribute node.
Okay.
So, for example,
but it would by default the connector extension would grab that stuff. Yeah,
that's right. So luggage size, right? That just happens to be an attribute that's present in the sample data, so it's in here.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. So we just pull it out, and products pretty much are just data. We don't do a lot of business logic. We don't try to enforce it. We have some basic rules, like there has to be a price, I think. There has to be a text class and some other very basic stuff so we can process it. But Lizards and Pumpkins is not responsible for enforcing business logic invariants that are important for the business. We are about displaying the data. So the products are pretty much data. We put an object on top of it to make it a bit easier to deal with, so it's not just an array of stuff.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot beyond the data.
Okay.
We do have images. We can process images, but we prefer if people put images onto the CDN and just put the URL of the product images into an attribute.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. But you can render them here. So once it's once the XML file has been generated, then to take the long route back again to what we were talking about, this poll export queue job pings an API endpoint, and we're an import catalog API endpoint with the file name that was generated.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So it's assumed that this XML file somehow is now present in a configured directory on the host that got pinged.
Right. Right.
So it could be an NFS share, it could be the same host, however.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing that happens is that the API endpoint doesn't process the XML file directly. And the whole import process is a bit complex in a way. And the reason I don't like complex, but the reason why we decided to make it a bit more complex by making the whole import process, we're basically using a bunch of concurrent processes, was for scalability purposes. Right? So we wanted to be able to import really large catalogs quickly. So if you have 500,000 or 1 million or 2 million products, you shouldn't have to wait for a long time.
What's a long time?
A long time meaning an hour for 1 million products or whatever. It should be quicker.
Okay.
And we want to be able, basically, the import should be as scalable as the content delivery, linear scalability.
Yeah.
It's a little harder because we have to have write access in certain areas, right? We have to write things, and writing things is doesn't scale as easily as reading things.
Yeah.
Because of locking and stuff. But anyway, what happens next is that there's another process right here, a consume commands somewhere. Here we go. So here's a command running, looking for into the queue for commands. And import catalog would be such a command. So all the API endpoint does it adds a command to this command queue telling lizards and pumpkins, hey, I've got this file here, go ahead and import it.
Okay.
So this one of these processes, you can see there are multiple of these processes running, 2 command consumer and 4 event consumer right now here. And it will pick up that file and start parsing it.
Yeah.
And every time it finds a product, it will take that XML and put it into a new command, update this product, update this product, update this product, and put it back onto the queue.
Okay.
So the first command just splits it up into lots of subcommands. And then the next, another job, or the same job, once it's finished with the first one, we will start picking up these jobs. Right? And mostly all they do at this point in time is they do validation of the input data. Can we process this? Does this make kind of sense? If it does, great. Then the next thing they do is they split it out into events. And events, the difference between commands and events, we can talk a lot about, but you can think of commands is like, okay, import this catalog, update this product, scale this image, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And events is more, they're always in the past. Events are things that have happened. So for example, this product was updated. And once this event then gets triggered, Lizard and Pumpkins, this event consumer, is responsible for preparing the data of the product or the image or whatever into a form that's optimized for quick content delivery on the front end.
Okay. Okay.
So we have no database. We don't keep a product. We just keep data. So let's say you want to have a product that's optimized for a product listing page. Well, you could render each product into a little snippet of HTML that's optimized for there. And then if you want to have the search autocomplete, something here, I don't know. Why didn't that work? Oh, look at that, isn't working. Too bad. There should be some autocompletion there. I'll check that out. Probably I just broke while I was working earlier on.
I have a track record of always getting people's demos to break.
Yeah, I guess that's just how it is. It's got to be you, Kalen.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we render all this stuff, for example, product detail page, same thing. Right, you could render the finished HTML, and as soon as a customer then requested, there's not a lot to do. It's just displaying it. We don't have to query a lot of different tables and join them and build this and render templates and stuff. That's already done by this time. Right, so we render during import.
You render the HTML during import.
Yes.
Wow.
That's right. And not only HTML, we also render JSON. So the first version of Lizards and Pumpkins that we built, we were just rendering HTML. We were trying to render as much HTML as possible. like in stuff we call snippets, and we just write those snippets into a key value store. Again, we've got a file system key value store that we use during development, but there's also a Redis implementation and a memcached implementation, and I think there's already for the key value store, there's also a version that uses Elastic for that. But you can put anything below this, is my point again, of course. And key value stores have one characteristic, and that's that they're pretty fast, right? Because it's quick. They can use a B tree to pull out any piece of data, and they can easily be sharded, right? So that's great for viewing things quickly, pulling things out quickly. And that's exactly why we're using them there. And the first version just used HTML, but especially in regards to the layered navigation, it turned out that's a lot of HTML to render. So we decided to make that JSON and render it client-side.
Okay.
And that actually turned out great. The business had a lot of concerns in regards to SEO.
Okay.
But turned out
businesses are want to do.
well, it's a valid concern.
Yeah.
Turns out it's no issue anymore at all. Honestly, is using something like JSON or schema to indicate which part of the JSON is what kind of content. Search ranking has been better than ever, right? So both Google and Bing just don't care if you render client side if you do it right.
Okay.
So we've been moving more and more towards client-side rendering. If you look at a product listing page source here, for example, you can see somewhere here, it's basically a bunch of JSON now, and we render that client-side.
Okay.
And that has allowed us to, here's this, I really got to fix this image. I know what's made. So this is, the one way to do it. You don't have to render client-side. You can render everything server-side, or you can render everything client-side, because we put a lot of effort into the API. So the whole search, we've got an product API that can pull any kind of data out of it and deliver it back as JSON.
Right. Now, in terms of the HTML being rendered at import time, what happens if you change your template? You modify your template. You just regenerate a bunch of stuff.
Yep, you have to re-import. But here's the thing: we have data versioning, right? So what that means is every piece of data that's in the search engine or in the key value store is associated with a specific data version. And the data version, it's just a string. Could be ABC, could be 1, 2, 3, could be a date, could be anything. And during an import, is associated with import this with the data version foo.
Yeah.
So the whole import that will be triggered will associate each of the little content blocks that gets generated with the data version foo.
Okay.
And there's one special entry in the key value store, which is the current version. And that current version defines what content is delivered to the customer. So let's say the current version is bar. You can reproject and re-import as many products as you want to with the catalog version foo. And once it's done, you can switch the current version to foo, and the whole site will update instantly. Right?
Okay.
So that's how we do atomic updates on the front end. And the same mechanism can also be used. It's with a little bit of work, but that's the basics is right there. For A/B experiments, for example, right? So you would associate a version to a customer session, and then that customer A sees version foo, customer B sees version bar. So yeah,
that's awesome. Are you doing? So is this is production?
This is in production on one site currently only.
Okay.
So it's the customer we built it for. I don't feel comfortable saying this publicly on something that's recorded like this.
Sure.
In a private demo, I definitely would show it.
Sure.
But yeah, we have that. It's been running in production without issues. It's really nice.
That's awesome.
Because I guess that's one of the benefits of tests.
And are you guys doing? Are you guys doing A/B tests for that? Are you guys running?
No, unfortunately they aren't.
Okay.
But I thought it was a good idea. And, I know some people do it. I guess it requires a lot of commitment to actually use that kind of data and be data driven. Right? It's always easier to just kind of be kind of data driven and not just be
really fully invested in it.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, it's not that simple, I guess.
Right. Okay. So I think I get the flow now from the import to the front end. It really is a unique take on things.
To be honest, it's not that unique and it's not that new either. So this idea of pre-generating content, it's nothing new, right? I mean, that's been around since 1998 at least.
I'm just trying.
It's really nothing new.
I'm trying to think about.
You did have.
I guess in the sense that you do have like static website generation and stuff like that. In a sense, it's kind of what it is. It's kind of like static website generation.
That's pretty much what it is. We had a site back in 1999. Where I was working on for somebody. If we got time for a teeny story,
sure.
We were building a online betting system, or sport betting. And depending on what happened, people could bet on teams, and the stuff would happen in the game, and we had to update the site quickly. And as soon as something changed, we had to, like, people kept hammering the site, right, because they wanted to change their bets or whatever.
Right.
So, and back then, machines weren't as scalable as they were nowadays. So we just had a bunch of HTML pages that we wrote as soon as something changed, and that was pretty much as scalable as possible, right? I love HTML files; it's great. So yeah, it worked great back then. Not that we didn't try to do it in a different way back then, but that just always ended up in the server being fried. So it's really not a new thing. It's nothing unique. It's pretty simple, but it does the job just fine.
Everything old is new again.
Yeah, right. And rediscovering stuff, I guess, as a hobby is what developers do.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. And then so in terms of the UI, you've got search, you've got category listings, filtered navigation, product pages. And then, of course, anything that, if an existing Magento store is looking at this and they have a whole bunch of stuff on their custom stuff on their product page, they'd need to rebuild that.
That's right. So the one thing that people lose if they start using lizards and pumpkins is everything that adds client-side functionality, like anything coming out of the marketplace or something, right? That's the downside, of course. Then again, on larger merchant sites, I found that most modules that come out of the marketplace, at least client-side facing modules, things like PDF generation and email and stuff worked fine. But anything that's client front-end side normally didn't scale very reliable anyway. So most of the stuff needed to be tweaked or built custom anyway.
That's a good point.
Many instances.
So
I don't think it will make that much of a difference for merchants from a certain size.
Yeah, like you're saying, if there's a merchant that's planning to do a bunch of work on their catalog, they had, like you're saying, let's say they have at least one full-time in-house person, and they're going to spend the time anyways. They're probably going to spend about the same amount of time, doing either direction.
Yeah, because they will not have to debug any, why is the cache being flushed? Why, why isn't the scaling? Who is loading in a loop? So all of that just goes away. So for us, the main feeling was, okay, we are spending more time being productive, doing new things rather than fixing existing things.
It's great.
And that was a good experience, yeah.
What are some of the features in your roadmap?
So the first thing that I want to complete is I want to get the A/B testing working, because we haven't completed that feature yet because it wasn't. They didn't use it. They didn't need it, so we didn't build it. So that's one thing. Then one thing is we want to clean up the code base a bit more. So we decided to not use any dependency injection container. Right? Nothing like the object manager or anything. That's a bit controversial. Not everybody's a fan of it, but what we decided to use was we use factories, so very old school factories. For example, create a product detail page snippet renderer list. And that's what it looked like. It returns an array of products. And create a configured product JSON snippet renderer. That's what it is. And it has two dependencies. It has a configurable product variation attribute JSON snippet key generator and a whatever, right? So we just put everything in PHP. And that works great. It works pretty well, especially if you keep things in smallish modules. So, for example, let me just try to show you one example where I think it worked out really well. In the let's say, yeah, that's somewhere here. There should be a MQP.
M2 technical debt aggregator. That sounds funny.
Yeah, like here, this project, I think. So that's the Rabbit MQQ implementation. Okay. The dev VM uses the file system Q2. So here is a factory. Oh, that's just the interface. Let's see. Here's an implementation. Okay, that's a very, very simple one. Here's a bit. Okay, here we go. So this is a small factory, very simple classes, great. But it's everything that's needed here. It's really rather straightforward. And we can do full dependency injection with it. We can use decorators and all of that. Now, that on the one side, yes, there is some overhead writing these kind of factories, but there's no XML or anything they have to look up. It's all right there in your face. So that's something I like. It's somewhat developer friendly. Because it's easy to understand. It's no magic. Yeah, that's what I like. And one thing we did was in here, this common factory, right? That ended up a bit large, right? So 1,300 lines of factory code. Like that's one of my pain points currently. But it was a learning experience. So cleaning that up, and we're currently splitting that into smaller factories, and that kind of cleanup.
If you saw the length of some of my controllers, you'd be happy about the 1,300 lines.
Well, yeah, I see. I know. I mean, there are some classes in here that they are pretty big too, but most we try to keep relatively small. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, that's one page should be good enough.
Right.
Some are larger, some aren't.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
And the team that's working on this is you, Fabian?
Me, Tim, and Fabian. That's correct. Yeah. Nice. And all of us have to work for our living. I mainly do Magento 2 work, right? And I still do some Magento 1 work. And there's conference stuff, and that's great, and I like doing it. So just saying, there's not that much manpower behind it. So we've spent about 3 years now building this.
Wow.
Not a quick thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because at first you were saying that you've been doing M2 stuff and some of the issues there, but you guys started this really before M2.
Not before. I mean, M2 was on its way back then already, right? It was before the public beta, but it was yeah.
Oh, really?
Wow. Yeah. 3 years. Yeah.
It's gone through so many iterations.
Yeah, it's gone through some iterations, and we definitely made some mistakes, and we were able to correct some of them, but our resources are limited. So at the moment, we're trying to find merchants who are willing to take the pain out of content delivery and try it out and pay us for further development. But basically, what it would mean is probably we would help their own team or an agency implement it. Yep. And to train them and teach them and help build it, but afterwards they would have to continue too, because I mean, if this should grow, which would be lovely, because I think it's not a silver bullet for everything, but it definitely solves some problems, and in some cases it's like a perfect match. and then they can take it and continue to develop it. And we can't scale ourselves any further. And yeah, but I think it's definitely got its place. Right?
That's awesome. And so it's an open source project. So you guys open to contributors?
Absolutely, we would love to. And I love talking to developers about it and showing things and helping people. But I know how it is. I mean, it's open source work, so there's not, it's people need to earn money. That goes first always. So it's not too easy to get people in. Yeah. I think it would be. Sorry, one more thing. I think it would be a perfect fit for shops that, let's say, they have a lot of different inventory sites, right? Or maybe 500 different customer groups, and each one's very different. And all these complex conditions, or maybe timing conditions, because we can pull out these content snippets very dynamically. And as long everything you can pre-render, you can deliver very, very quickly. And building a Magento store with 500 store views is rather, well, I prefer not to do it, right? I mean, I know it's possible, but they don't scale that well because there's so much business logic in there, and we don't do that. We just show data, and that's cheap and easy.
Yeah. Now, for customer, did you say customer specific pricing you can do? Like
anything you can. So the idea is when we render a piece of content into the key value store, we somehow need to build the key for that snippet. And it could be as simple as a product A image, right? But it could be something like product A image small customer group 2, 12 a.m. to 2 p.m. Germany, customer segment something, right? So we're not limited to the data we put into the key.
Okay.
And that gives us gives an astonishing number of quick content delivery for complex conditions.
Yeah. And then how do you deal with authentication of customers?
Magento does that, right? We don't. So, well, yeah, of course, here we show hi and log out. So it gets placed into a cookie. Just a second. I can show you the cookie. Well, actually, it will be some kind of JSON in there, I guess. So not that. Here it is. So we've got the transport cookie here, right? Lizards and pumpkins transport.
Oh, okay.
And there we've got the cart items and the name and whether a customer is logged in or logged out, and that's how we communicate with the backend system.
Gotcha.
Magento or anything else.
Right. Super cool, man.
Simple. Yeah, it's simple stuff, but it's kind of neat. And yeah, I mean, it would be great to get another opportunity to build it somewhere, to use it somewhere.
Awesome, man. Hopefully get some takers. And the open source license, what license is it under?
We use BSD3 clause. So BSD3 clause. So you can do pretty much anything with it. The third clause simply is you're not allowed to endorse or promote products based on the name of its contributors, right? So you can't say, okay, we created this product and it's based on, the work of something, because we actually used a lot of input to start with in the main design from the PHP-CC. I don't know if you're familiar with them. It's the company that of Sebastian Bergmann, who wrote PHP Unit, and two of his colleagues.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so they influenced us a lot, and they also did a bunch of code reviews throughout the process, and so that was very, very helpful too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So, and actually, what I'm doing is I'm promoting the product based on the name of contributors.
Well, their lawyers will be in touch.
But it's just verbally, not written.
Right. I'll be sure to transcribe any show notes here.
Right. It's definitely a real open source product here.
Yeah.
You can take it and sell it.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, hopefully you guys have an enterprise edition out sometime soon and start charging the big bucks.
I guess, to be honest, we will not produce enterprise edition.
Okay.
We want it to be one product. One thing that might happen, I mean, if people see an uptake here, I could imagine support contracts and
sure.
that would be great
Yeah.
if that happens, and service level agreements and stuff. But I don't see us creating a product that's going to be sold. So far we plugged it into Magento, we plugged it into Oxid, we plugged it into plenty markets with a SaaS solution, and we plugged it into a commercial Elasticsearch based front end, which is interesting because this Elasticsearch based front end will not use a separate key value store and search engine, but it uses just the same class implementing both interfaces, key value store interface and search engine interface.
Okay.
To deliver all the content. So yeah, it turns out the whole idea of ports and adapters, right? Splitting out the actual implementations from the implementation, the implementations from the code that uses it. That's a flexibility that turned out really nice. It works well.
Nice. Did you say you put it in front of some SaaS too?
Yeah.
How did that happen? How does that work with how do you route the catalog pages?
Well, we pull the catalog data out through an API, and they get rendered. And otherwise, it works just like with Magento, right? So they've got a pretty good API, but scalability wasn't as reliable, right? So most of the time it was fine, but then sometimes you had the odd 6 to 7 second page load. And that might happen especially during Black Friday, whenever, right? So they wanted something that can be more reliable for scalability.
Interesting.
So that's what's going on there, yeah.
So I have mystore.com on Shopify, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how do you get mystore.com/red shirt to go through Lizards?
Oh, DNS.
Oh.
So you would have to put a server in front that decides, that tries Lizards and Pumpkins. If there is no hit, it will fall back. You cannot put it into the SaaS
Right.
solution. Yeah.
Okay. Now with that one and the other Elasticsearch, the other things you're mentioning, because you said there's one site that has it in production. Are these other projects that are in development? They're not live yet?
Correct.
Nice. Yep. Okay. That's
right.
Awesome. So you've got a couple few in development.
Yeah, that's right. Some
Nice.
people are looking for new solutions and new ways to walk, and are doing that. So
that's great, man. Well, congrats on the traction you've gotten so far, and it looks like a really cool project. You're having a lot of fun with it, and hopefully get some takers and some more contributors.
One thing that I've learned is it's really tricky to build a project that's even this large. Compared to Magento, it's teeny.
Yeah.
But I've got a lot of respect for building something as big, like a real system. And that's also because of, build something, then you'll see how it is.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of thought and time and everything. So
yeah, totally. And then you start getting customers on board, and they stretch things in funny directions, and you gotta hold that line between the product and what they need, and it starts to get complicated quick.
Yeah. So another thing I would like to do is I would like to build a bunch of like front-end widgets that only use the API. I know that's a whole thing currently with Magento 2, because I think it's happening because the Magento 2 front-end server-side rendering is not that trivial. Mm-hmm. So people start building front-end sites. But what I imagine here is if we had this kind of like JavaScript widget, okay, this is your product detail page, this is your product listing widget. You just put it into a static HTML page, and all the rest is pretty much done and just speaks to lizards through the API. That's something I want to build also.
Oh, that's interesting.
Cool. And that would also enable smaller merchants to utilize it, I think. And of course, they could always use something like Shopify, also great platform. But one thing that's attractive for a point for Lizards and Pumpkins, I think, is data ownership and stack ownership. I mean, if you own that thing and it's just PHP, you can put anybody there and give them a bit of time, and they'll be able to work with it. So that's cool.
Right.
That would be important for me again.
Yeah. Nice. Well, cool, man. Thanks so much for chatting and
There's one more thing I would like to note, if I may.
Yeah.
Because one question that always comes up is, yeah, but why not use varnish instead? I mean, that's, you know, just as quick or quicker. And so you didn't ask that question, but I would like to,
dang it,
you know,
didn't ask the question I was supposed to
preempt that question. And the difference is with cache clearing and cache eviction, right? Of course, you could even, if you generate some content and put it into Varnish with cache tags so that can be cleared, then let's say a product gets updated, and then you have to flush those Varnish entries based on the Kopp product tags, right? So in a traditional Magento setup, that means those pages, the next request would be cache misses. So they hit Magento again, which makes them slow. So that's not that nice. But taking care of clearing exactly the right pages out of flushing them out of the cache is a lot harder, because it's kind of thought backward, you know. It's rather than just generating the content that needs to be generated whenever product gets imported and writing it into the key value store, then you can't miss something because you just generated, right? So it's a lot easier, and there is no cache clearing. There is no inconsistencies thanks to indexers or anything. So
Yeah,
that's what I would say. It is not that the distinction between caching and pre-rendering seems like it's very similar, but there's actually a pretty significant difference.
No, I mean, and that's what made it seem so unique to me. The idea of pre-rendering at import time, it felt very different from, you know, any kind of a caching solution like Varnish or anything.
Right. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like you were saying, all the unique types of keys you can generate for customer session, time of day, location. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Right. So
well, cool.
I would also be delighted if Magento, you know, takes some ideas from it, and, you know, just a little bit less caching maybe. Make my day easier. That said, I've earned a lot of money through, you know, tweaking caching for Magento, so that's okay, I guess.
Yeah.
At the same time, you know,
gonna put yourself out
try to make it better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
So
well, thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate it, man, and hopefully see you soon. Not Imagine, but you'll be there in spirit. And
yep, I'll be there in spirit. I'll be thinking of all of you.
Awesome.
Fun. Thanks for you know, doing this.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Good to see you, and talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right.